Okay, we settled. Dr. McKinney.
Hello, William. Danielle.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you.
It's really nice to meet you.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to say it. You're kind of my hero.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So let's get started. I know you're already recording. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that the St. John for California campaign is most likely going to be relegated to a write-in campaign, at least for this recall election, because the Secretary of State's office won't allow us to pay the $3,000 that you need to pay in order to get on the ballot if you miss the deadline for in lieu signatures. You know, we're suing. We've already filed a lawsuit, and you know, I hear Larry Elder already won his lawsuit, quite expediently. And I say that is due to better funded legal counsel more than anything else. But
well,
that's
Gavin Newsom lost his lawsuit to be listed as a Democrat on the ballot. So he probably had the best in terms of legal advice, and he still messed up and lost in court. So don't give up yet.
I think to the fact that he's on that second page of replacement candidates, like what a dilemma that is. So you vote yes on the recall and you're recalling Gavin Newsom with Gavin Newsom. Like what's that?
Exactly. Are we live, by the way?
No, this is recording.
Okay, cool. Right, because I want to be able to share it. Everybody's tapping they're a lot of my followers are very also big fans of yours, and they're very interested in hearing what you have to say.
When the endorsement happened, like her sharing of the post was just like felt like hundreds of people. I know it was maybe just a bit less, maybe about 200 or so, but they were just super excited. And, you know, just on that endorsement alone, we raised $155 in donations and small dollar donations. So thank you very much to everybody who contributed right after the endorsement. It was...
Yes, exactly.
I'm very interested in the Emerald Green Party movement and the concept behind it, as I just literally is in the process of decertifying the Green Party, really. So give me some background into why Emerald Green and why it needs to be important at this time for independent thinkers and independent voters, and also what you think the future is of Emerald Green and what's the future for Danielle St. John.
I just wanted to say that, so we look at what I got behind me. That's just one of the graphics we got for it. But just the Emerald Party name is for our state affiliates in parties in which we aren't able to secede a state party from the Green Party US organization. My preference is to secede a state party, not to replace it. But in order to have a national party, you need to have a presence in all 50 states. So, you know, what's done is done in that regard. But, you know, I don't believe the Green Party of California has any potential of seceding. They are firmly in the hands of Howie Hawkins. You know, and he wants to run for president again, just like, you know, Jill ran for president again. he's prepping up for it, and we need a new national Green Party that represents the interests of those who aren't purists on the left and the right, those who can, tolerate open dialogue, diversity of opinion, and thereon and so on. If you can't motivate a movement in Georgia to usurp the current Green Party of Georgia thing, then I then start another party. That's what they're doing. And so, yeah, I welcome the Green Party of Georgia into our organization, should they be made homeless by these Puritans. Yeah.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Indeed.
I run into a lot of people who have, okay, so just a little background, very short. I was a Democrat. I was a lifelong Democrat until I watched the DNC cheat Bernie Sanders, right? And I've definitely, as soon as they did that, like me and a lot of people felt like we didn't have a home. And the Green Party was saying the right things. They had the right, in 2016, I believe, had the right motivations. We're doing it for the right reasons. But simply breaking out of that, left-right paradigm, that red-blue paradigm, simply breaking out of that, I think, allowed a lot of people to become free thinkers in a way. They've broken out of just that one little paradigm, that has basically held them in since children, right? Indoctrinated with this, you've got two choices. It's, Pepsi or Coke. It's, I think that once people start waking up to what it's called the purple party, because it's just the same thing. They both, the left and the right, both have the same masters. And, once you break out of that, the first thing I did was go green, right? And then I watched the Green Party get taken over by basically the Dems, as far as I'm concerned. Like, these people are taking a movement that a lot of people could get behind and taking it over, right? Are we in agreement with that? That the Green Party national, the Green Party state parties, and a lot of them have been taken over by the Dems? Is that, does that make sense to you guys? Is that what,
I mean, that makes a great deal of sense to me. And before, Dr. McKinney gives a response to that assertion, I just wanted to say, in regard to the Independent Green and Emerald names, that we have state parties that are called Independent Green Party, and we have state parties that are called Emerald Party due to state election codes. Right. So in the state of California, you can't have a party that's named similarly to another party. So so I just came Emerald. That makes sense. Yeah.
And a lot of people love it too. But I think the Emerald Party or the Independent Green Party really will resonate with a lot of people who have lost faith in the system, right? They've lost faith in, in what both the right and the left are pushing on humanity at this time. And so there are a lot of people that are going to need a home. And I think the Independent Green Party or the Emerald Party could be that home. And it goes further than that because, of course we want to influence, laws, but there are so many people who have given up on the system. I feel like I have an obligation to bring those people back into our community of the party of people who have done the system altogether. And I want to target those people too. And we can get into it later, but I call it the real Green Deal. And it really has to do with taking back resources in a non-hostile way, community by community. And really the only, you gather as a community and you take back resources. My thinking is food, news, and health are the things, the resources that we need to take back first. And I think the Independent Green Emerald Party can be the mechanism to do that. And we could be more viable, than anybody in Washington.
Well, this is very, very interesting that we've had either the forced breakaway or the voluntary breakaway from the Green Party. And I agree with you that the Green Party actually has been under attack for a very long time. And I think it's because you have this body of independent thinkers who actually joined together and they wrote a platform that was absolutely beautiful, that addressed all of the issues of the day and addressed them in a way that provided dignity to people whose dignity was assaulted, and provided dignity for Earth. Because of course, you know, you have to protect Mother Earth. If you don't protect Mother Earth, you don't protect yourself. And so if you go through the platform of the Green Party, thinking people will say, oh my gosh, they found the answer. And it's hard to even imagine that people from diverse backgrounds could come together and say, yeah, we as the United States, we've made some mistakes in our foreign policy around the world. We've made some mistakes in our domestic policy and the way we treat our fellow citizens and residents. But we can do better and we can be better. And I think the platform of the Green Party was really about helping the United States and the people of the United States to become their better selves. And then, of course, the pushback occurred. And the pushback has been, well, ever since, well, really 2000, when Ralph Nader's candidacy as an independent became problematic for the duopoly. And after that, then the Green Party has been targeted. I think now what you have is the dismemberment of something that could have been very powerful. And so therefore, it has to be destroyed. And that's what's happening now as I look at individual state parties being decertified by the national body. And I look at the reasons, and it's baffling to me because the members of the Green Party, whom I have had the opportunity to meet and interact with, are really some of the best human beings in terms of their political activism that I have met, period. And so you've got good politics, good people. What's wrong with that? Well, somebody found something wrong with that, and now they're trying to destroy it. So I'm just pleased, Danielle, with you, that you've put your name on the ballot and you've said, okay, we're not going to allow that to destroy what has been built by others and what I feel that I can contribute.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I just want to say in relation to the Nader stuff, so Howie Hawkins was the co-founder of the first Green Party in the United States, the first Green Party of the United States organization, which was named Green Party USA. And you know, in 1996, when the draft Nader movement was happening, they decided that they hate electoralism so much that even back then, when the party was just so minuscule, you know, they just decided that they would reject him, and it was up to other state parties to nominate Nader and eventually form a second Green Party US organization. And this is the third. and hopefully the last. But, you know, and throughout United States history, parties have had to be replaced because of an internal corrupting of their structures. So, you know, it's just, but right now we're trying to bring the Green Party back to its original values, not this, its values of diversity of thought, its values of you know, free speech, its values of Palestinian lives, its values of, you know,
Okay.
just
I know I'm
all life,
Yeah.
of all life, you know,
All
of the
life.
values of our environment. Instead, they're now this, you know, they want to make themselves seem all Stalinist and stuff, and it's just, you know, just, if you have one diverging thought, you know, you didn't nominate our nothing burger candidate. Okay, into the gulag with you. We're done with you. It's just it's antithetical to what green values are about. Real green values are all about.
I think the experiences with Ralph Nader are instructive because it shows what a movement can produce, and a movement that builds on the spirit and the idealism of young people. And I think that's what Bernie Sanders began. But Bernie decided that he was not going to help to create and sustain the movement that he spoke well, that he spoke very eloquently for. But when the time came for him to become the leader of that movement, he chose not to do so. And so now he's under the thumb of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, which is a place that the people who supported Bernie, they supported Bernie because they didn't want to be under Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi's thumb. And so you could say Bernie betrayed his own movement, and he betrayed the people who placed all of their hope, the Bernie or bust crowd. So now we have the opportunity, though, that movement created leaders. And Danielle, you're part of the new leadership that is created from that Bernie movement. And it's up to people like me to support people like you, to support young people like you, because the only way our country is going to get better is if we have better leaders. We can't say government did this and government is doing that. You know why? Because government is comprised of individuals, and those individuals make decisions. So you've got 535 members of the United States Congress, and every one of them, when they go and cast a vote, they know what they're voting for. They may not know the exact language of the legislation because, you know, the way it is that they oftentimes vote on legislation that they haven't read. But they know the powerful interests that support that legislation. So, for example, you'll get a bill that will come up, and the bill is a money bill. Well, now, why is a bill a money bill, and why can a money bill be assured of passage? Individuals within our government structure make decisions based on things other than the interests of the people. And that's why the Bernie said the Bernie was powerful, and at one point was even convincing enough for me. Well, you know, if he becomes the nominee, I'll have to rethink. Well, of course, it wasn't going to be so, and it wasn't so. And so now we have to creatively build, and that's what you're doing, Danielle.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm actually, like I said, reaching out to the people who have already given up on the system as a whole, right? That my vote is stolen. People who paid attention to politics, for a long time realize how rigged the system is. And it's not just within the election, with, the board of elections, but now it is, right? Now it's all the way up, to the top, and nobody wants to look at it, which really tells me that there is, I'm not sure if, and I'm going to keep trying, right? But I'm not sure if the, federal political system can be saved at this point as, as is. Even if we had, I mean, this is a little pessimistic, but even if we had a Green Party candidate who, made it into Congress, would it not be like throwing a drop of water on a fire, and especially since, with the Green Party, their anti-war stance is really, it really resonates with a lot of people. There's a lot of people in this country who want nothing to do with war. We don't want to be bombing 7 countries. We don't, that's not where we need to be, focusing our time and money and energy. It has to be back here. But one thing really that, after Bernie said, because it was pretty devastating, right? Like when he was handed the evidence of election fraud. I know he was handed the evidence of election fraud, and he chose to ignore it.
Donna Brazil was all like, and I told Bernie that I was sorry, and he forgave me. It's something akin to that.
Right, exactly. And, if you really take a step back and look at the fact that, it's not even an argument. We are responsible for the biggest killing machine in the history of mankind. And they do awful, despicable things. And, we're not even really allowed to talk about it. We get censored, even though it's in congressional record. Thank you, Cynthia McKinney for reading this DynCorp into congressional record, that our money goes to despicable things. Even then, people just have this ability to close their ears and eyes, except for the people who have already figured it out and walked away. And that is really my biggest target audience, to be honest. I could get in, I could be the governor of California and make some very meaningful, very significant changes. But if it isn't to be, even on a state level, if it's too much the election fraud is too much for me to
Danielle, do not be so pessimistic. So very few candidates get this opportunity. That not only do they get to participate in an election in 1 year, is they get to participate for the same office in the year after.
Oh, that's true. I'm going to use this microphone to its fullest ability, right? But the biggest in between, right? What do I want to do? I want to get real Green Deal meetings started in every community. The only criteria is that you leave your political identity at the door. I don't care, if you're red, green, purple plaid, political wise. If you want to fix things community by community, let's do it. And let's be able to show, before 2021 or 2022, that we can get this system in place and be more, viable and do more for our communities than any other party. While they're fighting, we can be feeding the people. That's my goal in San Diego. I'm sure it's going to be different everywhere, but that's where I'm starting with taking back resources, is food. We can grow food on the side of the road here. It's not we can give people, options that are not fast food.
You're absolutely right on that. And I remember, this is many years ago, probably before you were even born, that the big issue in Los Angeles was the community farm. And the mayor just unilaterally said, well, we're shutting it down. And that community farm, it was people who needed help. It was feeding people who lived in food deserts. My son used to actually throw seed bombs so that you could grow food in places where, on the sidewalk, on the grassy part of or the soily part of the sidewalk, where the sidewalk is. And so there's lots of things. Young people have so many wonderful ideas. Could you tell me a little bit about the specific process of signing up to run for governor? We've heard a lot about these lawsuits and about some candidates. And of course, we don't hear very much about your candidacy. So why don't you tell us what the hurdles have been for your declaration of candidacy and how you can become a full-fledged candidate?
Sure. I think that it's potentially, I think at this point, without a lawsuit, I don't think there really is a way for us to get onto this ballot. Now, I have been on a ballot before. I ran for Congress in 2018, so I am aware of the process. And in my district, I went to the registrar. That was when you could still walk into places. I'm not even sure if you can do that anymore. But I walked in. I had the donations of, it was a little less last time. We had a much longer period of time to gather donations and to gather signatures, right? This time, we call the Secretary of State's office to get in lieu signatures, right? Because that was really my, my thinking, is that if my message resonates with 7,000 people in California, I think we can have, what we need momentum wise to actually win this, right? And the Secretary of State's office, and the list of candidates who also believe the Secretary of State's office is completely inept, and this was a fraudulent thing, and a lot of other campaigns, Larry Elder, even Gavin Newsom, Jenner and Faulkner are also suing the Secretary of State because of how inept of their handling is of this recall. They gave us 1 week. They completely ignored us with the in lieu signatures, right? They would not respond to us, even though William was on it, every day.
So are you saying that they would not? Well, if you're getting signatures, you have to have the petition forms. So is it that you didn't have the forms, or just exactly what was not happening?
Well, they were not providing us with the forms or acknowledging our campaign. We, left message after message. Then they would call us back and say, oh yeah, we'll call you within 24 hours, and then not get, just really, basically like, I believe that it's being rigged for Gavin as we speak. And I really want everybody's eyes to be on California's elections, because I believe that they are, not getting back to campaigns, and all of these campaigns, including Newsom, right, went through the same thing, and they're suing. Yeah, Faulkner, yeah.
Well, Gavin sued and he lost.
He lost, yes, exactly. But
then Elder won.
Right, because that's the other part of it. Like, we can talk about the candidacy stuff, which was super expedited, and nobody, by the time we actually talked to somebody in person, in lieu signatures were done. We couldn't gather.
Oh, so now the deadline is over? Because is it possible for you to reach out to Larry Elder's lawyer to ask him for help?
I reached out to Larry Elder's attorney. He didn't give me any response, and then he won his lawsuit. So, Mr. Elder is a supporter of mask mandates. And that's just not something I'm a supporter of. And I think
that's true.
Yeah, but this is about the law, and it shouldn't be, so if
I wanted to do a joint lawsuit with Mr. Elder's attorneys, but he's already settled.
and not to mention, maybe I could have, if you have contacts, I'm willing to absolutely use them, but like, it's very expensive to litigate these things, and that's not what I do with campaigns. Like, I would love to raise more money, but the Green Party, they just don't. They don't ask. They don't get it presented to them.
This was a long time ago again, but up in Northern California, I went up there, and man, I could have moved there. The reception was so wonderful. There might be some resources there in terms of human resources that you might be able to tap for information or knowledge or whatever. So definitely, I don't know how you plan to move around the state because it's a huge state, but Northern California, I think, would be a wonderful place to do some campaigning. But now, so is it like totally impossible to get on the ballot now?
Yeah, I already have certain lawyers who have been giving me pro bono, advice and just service, ready. I mean, I'm prepping for Danielle's, I don't want her to pay any money. I don't want Danielle to pay any money for this.
Yeah,
So
I'm a person, you know what I mean? I wish I had, all of, money, but I'm a mom, and we're paycheck to paycheck.
but like but to give our lawsuit a chance, once I'm able to fund it at a reasonable price, I believe that we can tap into a progressive pressure campaign where we can extend Gavin Newsom's politically calculated rent cancellation by postponing the recall to November, where it was originally designated to occur.
Yeah, they sped it up. That's the other thing, is that Newsom's just using these executive powers and saying, all right, rent's forgiven. So everybody in California who haven't been able to pay rent for the last 15 months, it's all forgiven, right? And so that's one thing. So he did that, and then now we're going to be sent all of these ballots, and
that's by executive order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just everybody's rent's paid. Poof, gone. And then he's like, let's move up the election. Also, so this is
now the election date change was also done by executive order.
I think it just appeared one day. I don't even know.
No, it was the state legislature that did the moving up of the election.
Oh, the Democrat state legislator?
Yeah, the Democrat state, they saving their governor. They and that's
Exactly. It just, not only that, but so the process of a recall election is you get 1.4 million signatures, triggers a recall election, right? Then, we got 1.7. Then the recall election is just two questions on the ballot. One, do you want recall, or you want to recall Newsom? Yes or no?
And whichever replacement candidate gets the most votes gets the governorship if the recall wins. So, write Danielle in, guys, if we can't get her on the ballot. But I want to do this pressure campaign. I want Californians to have one more month of tab. Okay, that's what I want to see.
Right. Okay. So this, just a little bit more about this Newsom lawsuit. The reason he sued is because the D is not going to be next to his name, right? But he's just the first question, right? Newsom, do you want him to be recalled? Yes or no? But they're also putting him on the list of candidates. And he sued because on the list of candidates, he doesn't have a D next to his name.
The ballot is fraudulent in of itself.
Twice.
So do the other candidates have their party affiliation next to their names?
Oh, for certain, yes.
However, but my point is, he's not a candidate.
One, or wait a minute, only one candidate has the party affiliation next to his name?
No. What I'm saying is that I'm sure everybody does. I'm sure everybody has. However,
but everybody who got on the ballot, who's secure on there right now at the very moment, there's other efforts going on with other campaigns, similar to ours, that are, just don't have as much money as Mr. Elder. But
let me just make one more point. His name shouldn't be on the candidate ballot. His name is the first question. You know what I mean? That's how it's going to get convoluted, because two questions, right? Number one, do you want the current governor to be recalled? yes or no.
And if
That
you
should
vote,
be
you
it.
vote no, and
If-
then
if
you get to vote
51%,
Gavin.
They're right. So if 51% say yes, does that mean that they're going to say 51 and then start counting his candidacy ballots down below? He shouldn't be on that list. He shouldn't be able to gather votes or detract votes from the other candidates. His name, does that make sense? His name shouldn't be on the list of ballots because he's the governor. If 51% of California says we want Newsom to remain governor, that's it. The list of candidates doesn't exist anymore because he stays governor. Why is he on the second list? Does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense. And in fact, I'm wondering, during my era, there was the Gray Davis, Arnold Schwarzenegger situation.
Yes.
And so Gray Davis was the sitting governor, and he lost the recall and Schwarzenegger came in. So the question would be, was Gray Davis afforded the ability to put his name on the second as a part of the what was that ballot style? Was that ballot configured? I don't know the answer to that because I was not at that time a California voter, but precedent would be interesting to explore here.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that could be the basis of the lawsuit. I don't know.
Right. And that's why I'm saying just all eyes on California. Make sure that they're not counting him twice. They a lot of people say, well, there's going to be too many people on the ballot. You're going to split the vote, all of this stuff. It's like, well, Newsom's splitting the vote. It's a mess here. So
I don't think it's only a mess in California. I think if you looked at what has been happening in Georgia, well, I gave that warning back in 2006 that electronic voting machines were a problem, that there was no cheating before. What we've seen now in the 2020 election is that there was a massive fraud in every way. So it wasn't just electronic voting machine, it was also with voting on ballots that were run through the machines multiple times and that were on the paper ballot were recorded in one fashion when the underlying ballots did not support that report. So we've got a situation as has been reported far by Voter Georgia of massive fraud that took place. We can expect that the same thing is going to happen in California because why should things change? And which is a whole different kettle of fish because what we've got is a problem with absolutely zero election integrity. And how do you conduct elections when you know going in that they're going to be fraudulent? And how, as a candidate, do you conduct a campaign when you have when I didn't file the lawsuit, but constituents who were affected by my election outcome filed a lawsuit, and the state of Georgia got on the witness stand in the courtroom and swore, one, that because the software on which the tabulation of the votes was conducted was privately owned, that they were not going to make public the election data. That was point number one. Election data of public elections is private. Point number two was that the representative for the state who testified under oath said, well, you just have to trust that the candidate that we announce is the winner is the actual winner. That's almost a quote. People can go look up the case and then they can see that quote in the court testimony. You just have to trust. So ours is a system, you said earlier that the system is rigged. The system is rigged. And I would add to that, that the people of the United States have also been rigged. They've been rigged to accept a system that is rigged. And before we can unrig the system, we have to unrig ourselves. It's a tall order. You, Danielle, are a part of those people who are standing up and saying, I'm not going to accept a system that's rigged. I'm not going to allow a government that has origins that are untrustworthy because of the rigged system to laud itself over me and take away my civil rights and my civil liberties. And it's not just about the right to vote.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dr. McKinney, but you kind of cut out a bit. So
Okay, yes, it's telling it. So I need to just allow Danielle, whose internet connection is better than mine, to continue and then have the last word. But Danielle, you have my support. I hope you got that.
Oh, I really appreciate that. My cheeks hurt from just listening to you talk about this, because it really is everything that I have been, I've been doing for the last, at least since 2018, right? That once you get to a path, right, where you get to a fork in the road, once you know the information that we know, once you know that the thing that is supposed to make Americans free is not working properly. In California, Gavin Newsom used his executive orders or executive powers by, because of an emergency declaration, right? This public health emergency in California. He unilaterally decided to, it's very basic. This is a constitutional stuff. He decided to to unlimit his limited, supposedly, powers. Now he's unlimited. But the Constitution never says that the state legislators, have the ability to set state election laws except for under states of emergency. He already lost his lawsuit that way, right? Like he was actually sued, not to promote another person who's running, but Kevin Kiley actually is a Republican, one of the few Republican, state legislators. And he sued Gavin Newsom because he usurped the state Senate's power, constitutional powers. And Newsom lost that lawsuit. Facebook decided to take it off. It was just I'm kind of a geek in that way, where I just, I would like watching C-SPAN. I like watching, a court document, like a live stream from a court hearing, right? Why would Facebook take that off? Because we know that Newsom is abusing his powers. We know that now elections are rigged. And it's very blatant that elections, the thing that's supposed to make us free, have been completely hijacked, right? So how do you go from here? You're at a fork in the road, right? That we know that this system isn't working anymore. Do you, one, go off grid and homestead and do it all yourself and not rely on a society, or do you stay and fight for your community, right? And that really is and don't get me wrong, we've got some land where in case some stuff happens, I will be prepared to feed my family, but I would love it if I could feed my community as well if things go very wrong. And especially in my community, it's going to be, I'm not going to try to tell somebody in Boston how they need to grow food. I love what you were saying about seed bombs. I love, everybody should look up the gangster gardener, Ron Finley. Actually, they got the laws changed in LA, and now you can plant food on the side of the road. It's legal there, so we do still have strength in numbers, and we still can fix some things within the system. But it really is time for people to understand that we as a people are completely owned by this system. And we need to start, this pandemic probably made a lot of people aware that we need to start, you know, as a community, being able to feed each other, right? And to make sure that we get the right, you know, the right information, and that we can take back our health. You know, everybody thought I was crazy in 2018 for saying that one of my top 3 resources is taking back health, right? But in the middle of a pandemic, now I think people understand a little bit more about why we have to take back our health. If we can't rely on the system to fix it, that means we have to do it ourselves. And I would just encourage everybody, community by community, get together and figure it out for yourselves. You'll be much more effective than waiting on a vote that now we know is never going to save us. So
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. That's right. That's right. We are the leaders that we've been waiting for.
absolutely.
That's,
Absolutely.
that's right. So, William, is there anything else?
I don't think there's nothing else. Talk to you soon, Cynthia. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Cynthia.
much for asking me. And Danielle, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. It's not easy, just for the audience, it's not easy to offer yourself as a candidate. Everyone looks to you. You're supposed to know everything, but being the candidate means that you're gathering around you the best and brightest people who are willing to give and give and give. My campaign theme was warriors don't wear medals, they wear scars, because I had all of the scarred people around me, the people who got up in the morning and they gave at work, and then when they came home, they gave to their community. And all they asked was that the community be made better, that their government be made better. And you can find those kind of people all over this country. They are what made this country great. And yet now they are the ones who are being abused. And Danielle, thank you so much for standing up and saying, we're not going to allow our community to be abused, not any longer.
Absolutely. Thank you.